Winter storm chances are beginning to increase as we move into next week onward. And you guys know I love winter weather, so I'm very excited to talk about all the new information from overnight into this morning and that we have. The first thing we'll go over is all these individual model runs. The second thing will be focusing in on next week's setup. It has a boom potential, meaning that the dots could connect for a stronger storm system scenario, meaning it's January, right? So that stronger storm system could be a stronger winter storm for a widespread area. And this will be a big focus on the eastern U.S. But we're going to talk about everybody. We're going to figure it all out. I'll nerd out with you guys as we go, and we'll have a lot of fun doing it. After that, we'll go over today's weather, and then we'll wrap the video up. My name is Mitch. Good Friday morning. I hope you guys are doing awesome out there. I mean, it's Friday. Hopefully you're feeling well. I know I am. I'm feeling fantastic. Subscribe if you haven't. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please drop it in the comments below. Let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So let's go over the Euro first for the eastern U.S. If you live in the central U.S., I'm not going to forget about you. I'll have a segment for that. But we're going to go over the eastern U.S. first. We're going to start everything off with next Wednesday, January the 14th. So we're going to skip this storm system ongoing right now. We'll talk about that when we go over today's weather. So this is next Wednesday. Just want to reiterate that. Up here and over here, okay? But I'll mention the dates and the days as we roll here. So we have a lot of energy just around, right? You know, splotches of green, rain, splotches of blue, snow, and a little bit of everything in between. So there's a lot of energy dropping down. What's happening is a trough. A dip in the jet is beginning to dig across the central and especially the eastern U.S. So as we begin to move forward, we start to get into Wednesday evening. Okay, we're getting into next Thursday morning. So this is 6 days from now. And we got a lot of energy diving down, a lot of cold air aloft diving down. We already had a low pressure. It just popped off ahead of the main front, but this is well offshore. Doesn't really matter because most of the cold air associated with this pattern change has not worked into place yet. But there's cold air working in, a lot of energy, and we actually got snow flying around in Memphis next Thursday morning, the 15th. We got snow in the Cumberland Plateau around Tennessee. It's even showing a rain-snow mix as far south as central Mississippi. And just, it's very splotchy. So what you can't see here is the energy, and I'll nerd out with you guys with that here in a second, but we're just going to show you these individual model runs. And as we move forward, we start to get into next Thursday evening, and it begins to snow pretty heavily in the mountains of North Carolina, Tennessee, and surrounding areas, even northern Georgia. It's even showing a rain-snow mix down here and southern areas of Georgia and Alabama. Heck, it's even showing maybe even a little splotch of blue here in Florida. But don't get too lost in the sauce of the details there. There's a lot of cold air aloft working in with this. Okay, there's a low pressure popping off here. You got kind of an upper low right here. This is delivering a lot of heavy snow across the mountains. And then we start to move into Friday night. I'm sorry, this is Thursday night. And then we start to move into Friday morning, a week from today. It's snowing in areas of North Carolina, not a ton, but there's some here. And you have this kind of elevated area of snow in the Tidewater, Delmarva kind of region here. Low pressure beginning to develop off the base of this trough. And it tries to turn up the coastline and become something bigger, and it's close enough to Cape Cod to deliver a swath of light to moderate snow. But the dots don't fully connect, but they're close. Oof, they're close. Now, notice in the intro I said onward. So winter storm chances increase next week onward. So what is the onward? So we continue to move forward. Cold air continues to ooze down behind that trough. Look at that snow trying to show up in Louisiana and Texas here. We got northern stream energy up here. Any more dots trying to connect? They do. So we start to get into MLK weekend. That's always a big weekend for winter weather chances for the South over the last several years. It's kind of weird how it's been the trend lately. But anyways, not get too lost into that. We're getting into next Saturday into Sunday, the 17th into the 18th. We got snow breaking out across areas as far south as Alabama, Tennessee. A little bit of snow showing up in areas of western North Carolina. And then it turns into an all-out snowstorm from northeast Alabama, northern Georgia, into the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. And then the dots do connect here. But this is a little bit past next week. This is getting into next Sunday, the 18th, and we get an all-out snowstorm across the mountains of, the southern Appalachian Mountains. And then this really begins to dig, gets negatively tilted, turns into a strong system. But, for my folks here in Atlanta to Columbia to Charlotte, it's a cold rain, but don't get too locked into this scenario. I can read the comments sometimes like, oh, we're going to miss again, blah, blah, blah. Listen, we're still trying to figure out the pattern, okay? Now, as we move forward, of course, this turns into a banger of a winter storm across the Mid-Atlantic, the Appalachian Mountains, and then it turns up 996 low off the coast of Long Island, heavy snow rocking and rolling through New York City, Philadelphia, etc., and it turns up the coast. Anything behind that doesn't really matter too much, but there's still a lot of cold air just up top. We just need some energy to work with, but let's not get too lost onward. So the GFS, what does it show? Now let's update this, make sure we got the entirety of the run. I might flip back and forth to the OOZ to the O6Z, but same thing. Wednesday morning, you can see it, splotches of green and blue, indicating energy at the surface. That would be rain, snow, or something in between. So we move forward, we get into Wednesday evening. There it is. Look at the heavy snow breaking out across the central to southern Appalachian Mountains, pouring snow in Gatlinburg. Man, I wish we could move this to the weekend, but I might have a chance. Maybe next weekend. I'm thinking about going to the mountains, guys. I really am, but we'll see. But you can see there's a low trying to pop off here. This delivers a swath of snow across the mountains. And not just the mountains. I think there's a chance even west of the mountains too, maybe as far back as Nashville down to Huntsville. We'll see. And then the dots try to connect here for a stronger storm system. And I'll talk about those dots, energy here in a second when we nerd out with you guys if you're interested in that. But I mean, this run shows snow as far south as Columbia, South Carolina, which is where I live. So this is Thursday afternoon. Area of snow. I mean, you got this corridor of heavy snow from the Piedmont, central areas of North Carolina, up into Virginia, up through the Tidewater, Delmarva, and it almost gets going. In fact, it does. It shows snow as far south as Charleston, South Carolina, Myrtle Beach. It's snowing across all of eastern North Carolina, still snowing back in the mountains. And you got this corridor of snow, and you see the low pressure developing. This trough gets negatively tilted. You can literally see the negative tilt off just the 540 line here. I mean, you can see it. You can see it how it's tilting just like that. That is a negative tilt. That is a positive tilt. That is a neutral. That is a negative. So you can tell it's already working here, and we have a moderate winter storm cranking up the entire I-95 corridor all the way to the coastline. It's snowing all the way out in the Atlantic Ocean. And then this turns up and moves away. What about that secondary time frame as we get deeper into next weekend? Shows snow flying around in Arkansas. Snow's overspreading northern Mississippi, northern Alabama, snowing in Tennessee. What is this system about to do for the Carolinas? It looks like it kind of gets sheared apart. There's energy still there, but it kind of falls apart. There's a nice cold air press. You can see it. And then after that, who knows? We got to watch this storm system. Model guidance is a little everywhere on the cold air press after this, but I do want to back it up to OOZ and show you this same time frame. And by the way, the OOZ delivered an absolute hammer of a blizzard out on Cape Cod on the first storm system. And then we get that secondary time frame, shows a big winter storm going from Arkansas, even ice as far south as Louisiana, and then it hits some cold air, and cold air is pressing down, shows a winter weather event across the mid-Atlantic, upper southeast, and then we get a big CAT event, cold air damming event, winter storm across areas of the Carolinas up into Virginia. So it's a much more active winter weather scenario on the OOZ. But listen, these models are going to go back and forth. They're struggling with the cold air press that I think is going to be there. And guys, we've been talking about this for a while. Remember, I've been telling you about that bowled out trough after we get to the 18th to the 22nd. That's there. That's what's providing that cold air press. Canadian model. What is it going to show here? As we move forward, we start off Wednesday. We get into Thursday morning. Look at the snow flying around as far south as Middle Tennessee. Got a northwest flow event, not as aggressive as the GFS and the Euro model run. And the Canadian, not connecting many dots. It really doesn't. But then it gets the secondary energy as we're getting into Saturday the 17th. And it delivers some snow in the southern Appalachian Mountains. And just tries to do, there's just a lot of energy flying around. And on the Canadian, you got an extreme cold air press. And you got energy dropping down the pipeline down here, over here. And who knows what it shows beyond 240 hours. Okay, now we look at the Euro AI model run. What is it going to show? It's the latest one. Okay, and this will be the last one I show for the eastern U.S. Well, here we go, Wednesday. It's just going to show precipitation, remember. So that grayish green color, this is snow. This is northwest flow snow. This could be snow too back here in Tennessee. And then look at all the energy going through Florida, all right, off the coast of the eastern U.S. Some dots trying to connect, and they just don't. But man, look at all this precipitation just off the coastline with a lot of cold air in place across all the eastern U.S. just about. And then what happens after that? What about that secondary time frame next weekend? We're really talking about 2 time frames. The second time frame could be spread out across a large time frame, if that makes sense. But here comes that Gulf moisture. There's enough cold air involved. at aloft, we'll take a look at the surface here in a second, and then this begins to get into the mountains, and it does turn into what looks like a pretty decent winter storm across the mountains. But what kind of cold air is in place across the eastern U.S.? Not sure. And man, this is a pretty cold run for next weekend into the week after. You can see that 0 degrees Celsius line dropping all the way down. A lot of cold air involved. What happens after that? Who knows? But I mean, it still shows a lot of cold air dropping down. And, we just, shows a big amped up low, 360 hours out. But if you look at how much snow shows on this, yeah, I mean, it's not big for the actual southeast, but it is. For example, this is all the way through next Friday, a week from today. Look how much snow increases in the mountains next weekend. I'm telling you, if you live in the southeast, mountains are just a few, maybe even several hours up the road, and you're like, man, I don't trust that it's going to snow at my house this winter, and I don't blame you. Head on up to the mountains next weekend. It might be your weekend. It really will. And me and my family are thinking about it. I'm going to start looking at some cabins today around the Gatlinburg area. But it's an interesting setup. All right, so what about the Euro Ensemble? Okay, is it backed up by the Ensemble run? Well, we take it all the way to Wednesday morning. I mean, you can just see the snow signal up here. Okay, then we move onward. There is the signal for the coastal low. You can see there's a little signal breaking out across northern South Carolina, back into Tennessee, even northern Alabama, even a little bit into North Carolina, points north. And then everything begins to increase once we get into that second time frame, MLK Day onward. Okay, and then by the time we get to 300 hours out, we're starting to get a little bit better of a snow ensemble average here. Okay, this averages out 51 members. Okay, so it's not as bad as it looked a few days ago. Mountains, that's a pretty strong signal, especially in the Smokies. I mean, it's over a half a foot to a foot of snow. Even the Cumberland Plateau has a couple inch mean. And I mean, we even have, some members in here throwing us some bones down here in the deep south. Okay, what about the GFS ensemble? I'm not a big fan of this, by the way, but I'll show it to you. And here we go, same thing. You can see the snowfall numbers begin to increase for the mountains as we get into Thursday afternoon. And then we start to move into Saturday. We start to move into Sunday. And then we begin, and it only goes out till Sunday evening because it's still running. But, that is an increasing signal for areas of the Mid-South. And it's teasing east of the mountains too. But if you look at the run last night, I can already tell out to this range it's not as impressive. But we will look at the entirety of the run. And yeah, it looks like the latest GFS ensemble is coming in better for snow weather fans. What about the central U.S.? There's not as much to talk about. I think a lot of energy is going to swing through the eastern U.S., but we'll still have energy. And there is a couple things I want to mention. We start off next Wednesday. You can see energy diving down. You guys are on the western side of this trough dig. So, like I said, showing some snow into Memphis, northern Mississippi as we're getting into Thursday morning. Not a forecast yet. We're not into that range yet. Then it shows a lot of northern stream energy diving down. Some just light, moderate areas of snow, maybe getting into this time next week across the middle of the country. But then it shows some snow as far south as the Panhandle of Oklahoma and Texas. And then it shows a rain-snow mix like next Saturday across the Dallas-Fort Worth area. That's not Mitch saying that's going to happen. I'm showing you model data, okay? And then it shows some energy digging down here. Okay, this is what ends up turning up and becoming a snowstorm across areas of the eastern U.S. We have to watch that. And then beyond that, who knows, guys? There's not a whole lot showing up. It shows a big, giant cold air press coming down, but not digging aggressively to the south. What about the GFS? What does it show? Same thing. Here comes the trough. You're on the back side of it. Not showing that snow in Memphis and stuff like on Thursday, like the Euro is showing. But we get some energy down here. And as we get to, say, next Saturday, it teases at some winter weather across the southern plains and Arkansas. Look, we got some heavy snow breaking out and a lot of Gulf moisture hanging out really close to cold air right here. Okay, but it looks like it drops some energy back down here. So that would not help us out in the eastern U.S. We need this energy to be picked up by this trough digging in, the energy associated with it. But it's not a big run at all for the central U.S. Now, I will show you, I don't want to completely just kind of lowball you guys out into the eastern U.S. What I'll show you here is the snowfall footprints off the Euro Ensemble. I'm sorry, off the Euro AI here and what it shows. And Yeah, I mean, it doesn't show much. This is actually the system that's moving through over the next 48 hours. So, but as far as the Euro ensemble for the central U.S., it's not as exciting as for the eastern U.S. Like this little area right here, this is for what's about to happen over the next 48 hours. But there is some members teasing at some snow as far south as Texas and Louisiana. So, listen, I really want to focus in on the nerding out part of next week's system. So this is a broad look at everything, right? And once again, we're starting off for next Wednesday morning. And what I want you guys to notice right off the dot is a lot of energy around, right? I mean, we got a lot of energy associated with the trough that's digging down. We got some southern stream energy down here. You can see some moisture here. You see some moisture here. Now, everything's kind of combining together. And I want to show you the precipitation output of this first. So look how everything's kind of jumbling up together across the eastern U.S. And then we get a lot of energy that pops off. It misses wide to the right to the Atlantic Ocean, right? A lot of moisture here. A lot of dots try to connect, but they connect. It's just far off the coast. And they connect enough to bring some snow across the upper southeast and mid-Atlantic. And then you can see a lot more energy dropping down behind it. This is getting the next Saturday. Energy here, energy diving down here, and just trying to swing in and trying to connect. And these areas of energy do connect. And then boom, we get a coastal eastern U.S. 10 days from now snowstorm. Okay? Now, what's that look like as far as energy in the atmosphere? Next week's system, this is what I mean when I say energy, guys. This is at 500 millibars. These little vortices is what we call them. These are the energy this is the energy in the atmosphere that reflects to the surface as rain, snow, or whatever. So, I mean, you got this area of energy. You got energy here. You got southern stream energy right here. And I want you guys to watch as I put this in motion how everything gets close to one another. You see how this is digging, kind of digging like this, and then watch how it kind of in a way scoops up this energy right here. But watch, right now it's kind of positively tilted, right? But this thing is going to dig, become what we call neutrally tilted, and then it's going to try to dig kind of this way and become what we call negatively tilted. When these systems, when these troughs negatively tilt, they can pop off a low pressure. But you can still get a storm system even if they don't do that. But watch how it's digging down. There's that neutral tilt right there, and then it takes on that negative tilt. It kind of goes like this, right? So that system heads on out, and then look at all this other energy diving in behind the pattern as we get into next week. And look at all this energy with cold air kind of funneling into these pieces of energy. And then once again, here it comes. And then that one is able to do it even though it doesn't get fully negatively tilted. And it's crazy. This right here is a snowstorm developing across the eastern U.S. So if we look at the same time frame as, say, this right here, that's this next Sunday into Monday, and we look at this, look, see how at the surface it's a snowstorm and a rainstorm for others and a cold rain? That's the energy. That's the precipitation. Energy, precipitation, same time frame. Now, if you look at what we've been showing you, where we're kind of nerding out with you guys with the pattern, remember, the blue is energy in the atmosphere. It's a lower pressure, lower heights. It brings a shot of cold air with it, too. So we're starting off next Tuesday. Watch how all this blue shows up on your map. That is our storm system signal for next week. Okay, a lot of blue shows up, embedded areas of kind of doled out green. That is our big trough, digging down with energy trying to get associated with it. Right here, it's kind of positively tilted, but watch how this kind of swings through. Remember, cold air is coming in behind this. As this dip in the jet, okay, it pulls down cold air from the higher latitude, spiking ridge, cold air coming down into this, into the energy. Okay, and then look how it kind of pivots through the southeast, and then you kind of have this re-emerging of this, of this other area right here that kind of shows up. That is our follow-up areas of energy coming into the pattern as we get into next weekend. So what am I trying to say? Late next week, big boom potential. What follows after that? Boom potential also, with other areas of energy coming into what I think could be a colder pattern already in place, maybe areas further to the south. Okay? So we move forward, and what's interesting to me is this entire time frame right here. For example, this is like getting into more MLK Day, okay? If we go back about 5 to 6 days from now, it was saying that there was going to be a ridge in place across the southeast. Now we've trended this into an all-out trough over the eastern U.S. We keep kicking the can with the southeast ridge. Okay, we're getting ridging all the way up into Alaska, negative EPO blocking Alaska. We're warming up Alaska. We got, pretty decent blocking in the AO-NAO region, negative AO-NAO. Okay, high latitude blocking, dislodging cold air into our pattern. We're rocking and rolling. Okay, and then after that, sure, it's going to show another ridge form over the southern tier of the country, but I don't believe that. I'm not going to believe it until I see it. And it might happen. It's not like we're going to stay cold and stormy forever. Okay, so in response to areas of energy diving down into the country, for example, the storm system that's moving through right now is going to bring a shot of cold air Sunday into Monday across the southeast. It's going to cool down everywhere else too. Just compared to average, it'll be colder in the southeast, if that makes sense. So the blues and greens, that's several degrees below average. You're going to feel an abrupt change from Saturday into Sunday across a lot of areas in the south. Might hit 80 degrees in my area tomorrow. And then the next day it won't get out the 50s. Some say, well, man, we never get weather like that. That's just crazy. I mean, were you born yesterday? It does that in the winter in the south. Every winter. It can be in the 70s, and then a few days later we get a winter storm. It just blows my mind how people just, and a lot of times I think it just fits their agenda, and we're not going to get all political and everything like that, but you guys know I'm telling the truth. But anyways, as we start to get into next week, we hang on to, we might actually warm up, and then the trough sets up and boom, just evaporates all those warmer colors you see on your screen. And by the time we get into this time next week, maybe a couple days prior, we begin to cool down across the eastern U.S. in response to a trough digging down, energy associated with it, and that's when we increase our winter storm chances across the eastern U.S. And check it out, even after that, the entire, even areas of the central did, but especially the eastern U.S., we stay cool. Okay, I mean, look how cold it looks like 10 days from now across the eastern U.S. Those greens, I mean, that's 9, 10 to as much as 15 degrees below average in the heart of winter. The 18th to the 22nd, I mean, one would argue that's peak climo for winter weather. So we got something working here. Something is working, and we go all the way to 300 hours out. Look how cold the eastern U.S. is. It's just shy of 300 hours. Man, we have trended colder. And if you look at the trend, like this is the run-to-run change. This is comparing yesterday's 12Z, okay? Look how much colder we've trended. This is 1 week from today, okay? This is about the 7 to 10 day range. Look how we've had colder trends across the south in the eastern U.S. We've just continued to be colder and colder. And listen, today, I keep saying this, but today is a massive, massive day for the Climate Prediction Center outlook. We're already starting to see more blue show up on your screens. The latest 8 to 14 day temperature outlook from the 16th to the 22nd, going towards below average temperatures for everybody you see in the blue, a chance added. The bluer, the higher the chance. And you combine this, it's the 16th to the 22nd, with precipitation outlook, above average precipitation chances, and, in the gray, that's just kind of near normal. But, you combine below average temperatures with above average chances of precipitation in the heart of winter. I mean, you're asking for some winter weather. Okay, so, whew, I'm excited. I'm excited to talk about winter weather again. All right, so my radar is being weird right now, so I don't have that pulled up, but we do have some weather breaking out across the country. We got winter storm warnings across areas of the panhandle of Oklahoma, panhandle of Texas, a few counties, even a few counties here in southwest Kansas. Basically in the counties right here where Colorado, New Mexico, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas come together. We got flood watches up for a lot of rain. It's going to overspread areas of the south today, some dense fall. We got wind advisories up for a low pressure that's going to be sitting around this area. Now, as far as the Storm Prediction Center outlook, a slight risk across areas of the deep south. This is tweaked a little bit, but there is a 2% risk of a tornado in this area here today. So this is western Alabama, good chunk of Mississippi, into Louisiana, very small section of eastern Texas. 5% risk of a tornado. Be aware of that. There is a risk of damaging winds and some hail too. But if you look in a broad look at everything, this is starting off this morning. We already got a line of storms working through. Let me know what you're seeing out there. But as we move into this afternoon, more storms will try to develop down here in this warm sector, and these could produce tornadoes. So be aware of some Dixie tornado threat. It can happen any time of the year. Summer, not so much, but especially this time of the year into spring. So we had a quiet fall as far as severe weather chances. That was good, but just watch. Are we going to get an upgrade to an enhanced risk? I hope not. That means confidence would increase for more severe weather. But just be aware of tornadoes with these storms that form down here today. And then just a lot of much needed rain will overspread across areas of the southeast. Multiple inches of rain is possible even into tomorrow. And just a closer look at these storms across the deep south, you can you can see. Come on, get in motion for me. As we get into midday, kind of the morning storms might lose some steam as they move north, kind of outrun the moist sector. And you see these individual cells right in here, kind of semi-discrete supercells. These will be able to tap into the environment south of them, the better thermodynamic, better dew points, and there will be some wind flow aloft in this area. So overlapping conditions for severe weather, you're certainly going to run a risk of tornadoes. I'm sure there'll be some storm chasers down in this area. I know a lot of people like to watch that type of stuff. I do too. So, tune to them. They'll be covering this area like crazy. Just your classic Dixie slop fest tornado risk. So, of course, this will probably be rain wrapped. You're not going to be able to see them. So just be aware of this today. Especially across Louisiana, southern Mississippi. So, all right, well, there's your Google browser. Not sure what that is, but the Northeast today, some moisture will move in. A lot of your snowpack up here is getting nuked, but there's going to be a chance to replenish it. So, but this will be just a warm event, just a lot of rain. Not a lot, but just rain surging through this area. So, not a big deal at all, but you're in the middle of that January thaw. But today we're going to have that winter storm, that snowstorm breaking out across this little small kind of micro area of the country. So snow will be flying around out here. Enjoy it, kind of just your own little small scale snowstorm. Let me know how much snow you end up getting from this, and then the energy from this will head on out. But I do want to mention Texas. Watch out in extreme eastern Texas today for some thunderstorms. Mary, I think it'll be south of you. But watch out in this area of Texas. Some thunderstorms will be possible to likely. And just showing some individual areas as far as how much snow could fall. This is Colorado. Southern areas will get over at 1/2 foot in the purple area. And then just to show you New Mexico, this is what we're looking at. Some snow in the northeast sections of the state. And then showing Oklahoma and areas of northern Texas. The far western panhandle of Oklahoma, someone's going to end up getting 6 inches of snow. Amarillo points north, a little bit of accumulating snow. And then just kind of showing you here in Kansas. Dodge City, maybe an inch or two. Liberal, 4.5 inches. Garden City, 2 to 3 inches of snow. So, like I said, your little micro baby snowstorm in this area. The north central U.S., we're dealing with some snow this morning in the panhandle, I believe. Let me know what y'all are seeing up there, Lisa, Steven, things like that. And more moisture will come up tomorrow morning, and then tomorrow will just be a snowy afternoon, evening across the Great Lakes region, just snow flying around, maybe even some snow as far south as Illinois, Missouri. But this is how much snow you could get between now and a good chunk of the weekend, a few to several inches of snow. Now, this only goes out to 12 a.m. Sunday, so more snow could be flying around after this. But, you're going to get your fair share of snow up here, but no world beater totals or anything like that. The western U.S. is pretty quiet. I saw a comment this morning saying, where can I find, and they weren't mean or anything, where can I find detailed information about the western U.S.? I don't know of any YouTubers out there. They're at least consistent, like I am and like others are. So I do apologize for just not getting detailed. Guys, there's so many microclimates out here. I don't know all the microclimates. I know all the basics, the Rockies, the Cascades, and the Sierra Nevada, and a couple individual mountain ranges also, like the Laramie Range, the Bighorn Mountains, and Wyoming. But there's so many micro areas out here, and I'm so detailed oriented that I feel like I would lose my touch if I expand into the western U.S. I'm just not able to get as detailed. That's why I kind of breeze over that area all the time. January thaw underway, warming day. Look how warm it is across the deep south. It feels like spring, but even warmer tomorrow. But it's definitely colder across the western U.S. today. So, all right, let's create a timestamp and let's do our quick Bible devotion this morning. I want to show you guys a story with this Bible devotion. Now, listen, we've done this scripture before already, but I want to add a different approach to it. So it's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13. It says, "No temptation has come upon you except what is common to humanity. But God is faithful. He will not allow you to be tempted beyond what you are able. But with the temptation, He will also provide a way out so that you may be able to bear it." So, a couple things before I go into my example and how I failed miserably at that. The process is that there will always be, the promise is that there will always be a path out of your temptation, says in Scripture, right? The key is to rely on God in these tempting situations. He will open a door for a way out. Now, I want to hit on that real quick. I do think that way out, that kind of way out is probably going to be, it's going to appear more clear to you, or it might speak to you more clear when you're in a better relationship with God. And if you're not, if you're not actively pursuing God, strengthening that relationship with Christ, I think it's going to be harder to hear Him. It's going to be harder to see that way out of that tempting situation. I hope that makes sense. That's why you constantly have to renew your mind, your spirit, your body, and have that quiet time. It goes back to the devotion that we did earlier this week, right? It kind of links into this. It all connects, right? So, there's going to be a way out. So I want to go over what happened to me Wednesday night. It was right after church too, which makes it even worse. But as always, I don't want to make myself out to be some above average human being, like I can handle all the stresses and world's pressures in the world any better than anybody else, because I can't. I struggle too. So Wednesday night, quick story. We're wrapping up prayer time at church. I mean, we're about to leave, and my wife's phone starts blowing up. Okay, and I'm like, somebody's probably calling her. And then I can hear her phone getting blown up again. At that point, I knew exactly what it was. I was 99% sure. And then my phone started blowing up. And then, of course, at that point, 3 or 4 calls in, I kind of have to peek at my phone kind of during prayer time, which is a no-no, right? And, of course, it's my neighbor calling. And that just kind of stamped down exactly what I knew it was. My dogs had got out. And a quick side story, I just got a new fence put in my backyard because my husky that you guys know has been tuning in for a while, Copper, he is now in a digging phase, and he was literally climbing our chain link fence. And so I spent X amount of money, and you guys know it's probably a lot, to get a new fence put in over the first 2.5 days of this week. And it looks beautiful. It looks awesome. And literally 1 hour after I let my dogs into the backyard, while we're at church, it's literally the first period of letting my dogs in the backyard. They get out and dig a hole under the fence. And I haven't had a chance to really put any chicken wire down there or put any kind of barrier, because just because you get a new fence, that still ain't going to stop a dog from burying a hole under it, right? So, that's a neighbor, and luckily I got wonderful neighbors, and they're cool about it. Like, we got them, and all that. And I know I'm getting too lost in the sauce of the details here, but, I get incredibly mad. I'm very irritated. I'm racing home to try to acknowledge it. I'm mad because I just spent all this money to get a new fence, and within an hour, the dogs still get under it. And 85% of the reason I got a new fence was to keep my dogs in my backyard. The other percentage just because it was falling apart and I wanted a new fence. It was an investment. So you can imagine how I felt. I was very upset. I just spent all this money on a fence, and it just, it didn't keep my dogs in. And then they got out again yesterday. But anyways, on the way home, I was mad. Wasn't taking it out on my family or anything, but I was heated. And it didn't make it any better that I came home and everybody in the cul-de-sac was standing in front of my house. And I don't know about you guys, but when I'm very mad and upset, I don't want to talk to anybody. I want to deal with it. I want to get over it myself. I don't like people talking me through it. That's just something I struggle with. So I want to deal with it. I want to just get my dog inside. So kind of in an anger, I opened my gate to get Moo, which is our little beagle that got out. She's the main dog that got out. And I'm mad at her, not spanking her or anything, but I'm mad at her and I'm putting her in the house, but I leave the gate open. And then Copper just races out, starts running the neighborhood, and I'm literally starving. Got Chick-fil-A, I'm ready to eat. And it's just amplifying my rage. But I felt like the entire time, God was speaking to me like, calm down. I didn't hear his voice, but I had a strong feeling like you need to relax, right? You need to calm down. And I do have a bit of some, not anger issues, but I can get pretty mad. I'm not violent. I don't beat anybody, but I can get irritated. And I have a mean streak about me. I think everybody struggles with something, but I do have a bit of a mean streak. So I was just mad. I didn't want to talk to my neighbors, even though they helped me. I just wanted to get in the house. I wanted to get my dogs in, and I wanted to figure out a game plan to fix and address the issue. But I made it worse for myself because I didn't calm down. I left my gate wide open, and I know I'm getting really deep into this, but what I'm trying to get at is I think sometimes God allows irritating situations to happen to enable a growing moment for you, to place an opportunity in front of you. It's temptation, but how are you going to respond to that? How can you grow? Let's have a testing moment to see how much you've truly grown and how you can build upon this irritating situation, this unfortunate situation that the grand scheme of things really ain't a big deal, right? People are going through much worse things. And there was a lot of other things that happened in that little hour time span too that I'm not going to get into. But and I really got worked up, and it took me all the way into the next morning to really calm down. And so I felt like I failed miserably at it. But in the moment, I realized that God was trying to tell me to calm down and to handle this better. And by the time I was able to really think on it, by the time I got into yesterday afternoon, I took on a new mentality about it. And even though I failed at handling that the right way, okay, I kind of shut myself off, right? Mentally, I got past it. And then I acknowledged the fact that God was speaking to me, and I'm feeling much better 24 hours later. And right now, I got a game plan. I know what I'm going to do. I'm excited to do it. And, it was a growing moment. And we're going to fail at those things, right? We're going to struggle. We're going to have failing moments where we fail to the temptation. But don't let those, when you fail at it, it's not the end of the world. We're going to do it until the day we die. We're going to fail at it sometimes. But don't let the devil sneak in and get you discouraged like, I screwed up again, whether it's an addiction, whatever it may be. Don't let them come in, talk junk to you, say you can't do it, because you can. Don't give up. That's all I got. That might have been the longest devotion I ever did. Hope you guys enjoyed the story. God bless all y'all. We will have a video tonight if things continue to look good. It might be time to start those 2-a-days, but it will be late. I'm taking my family out to dinner, meeting some friends, going to enjoy some time. So it will be a late banger. Hopefully we continue to have good trends for us winter weather fans. God bless. Have a wonderful day, and we'll talk again soon.